Oh,
Okay.
here comes Rick now,
Okay,
with a number of other people.
great. Yeah, we'll wait a couple more minutes. Welcome, everyone. Great. The forum and act as moderator. And just to give people a little background, what we're talking about or why we're here. In the 2020 Cornwall Town Plan and Conservation Development, the Board of Selectmen is tasked with continuing to work to control speeds and improve pedestrian bike safety in Cornwall Bridge in West Cornwall, create a pedestrian network of complete streets in Cornwall Bridge to make it a stronger village economic center. And we're to partner with the Connecticut Department of Transportation and the Northwest COG to try to improve the safety conditions in downtown Cornwall Bridge. So what I thought I'd do tonight is we're just going to go over a little background material. And again, thank everybody for coming. This is sort of maybe it's not the first conversation that we've had about this, but it's sort of the most focused. And this is just a special forum for the Board of Selectmen to hear everybody's inputs, thoughts in the context of what we've been doing to date. And again, what I would like to do to start is we'll probably make a town website to get all this information. We've got some very thoughtful, good input letters from people, a variety of opinions, which is to be expected, but some very good suggestions. And again, we're joined by Rick Lynn tonight, who's chair of the Northwest Hills Council of Governments. He's a Cornwall resident, one time chair of Cornwall Planning and Zoning, and has been involved in planning issues for a long time. And certainly, if nothing else, we'll learn tonight how difficult some of these things are to plan, or at least to get through complicated issues. But again, difficult discussions are often necessary to have if we're going to get things accomplished. So what I thought I'd do to start, and Rick's going to give a somewhat of a summary of the programs that we have to date, or where we're at this point. Two key phrases for people to know is a quick build, which is a program where the state of Connecticut DOT has a program that would do a temporary realignment of traffic patterns to see whether they would make sense to the community. So that's what has been proposed for Cornwall Bridge. You've seen a plan that has been circulated, but what it's gone, and I think Rick will explain this better than I can, is the state now wants to do things on a more permanent basis and get away from the quick build concept. So again, you've probably have seen, and we'll go over this in some detail, but John, if you can you put up the state plan that we received, just so people can see that as a discussion point. And again, this is not happening tomorrow. This is not set in stone, and I'm not sure I'm even in favor of it as it sits right now. But at least it's something to talk about. I'm thinking about the plan, and again, we're going to put all this stuff up on a website so people can see it all.
It's on the website.
Okay, it is on the website then.
This is.
Okay, right. So, and you have the graphic that, yeah, this is the one I really want to see and show people. And I think Rick can tell us better. This has some, even this state report even has some internal contradictions, but I think it shows there's a couple of salient features that they're looking at to control traffic, and they're doing some bump outs like the one in front of the fly shop and in front of the liquor store to try to channel the traffic a little bit by slowing it down. There's also a slight realignment of the stop sign, the stopping area between the liquor store and the bank, because I think people generally agree that one of the biggest problems is that, and for a long time, traffic coming over the bridge looks down Route 7 and they're going south, see if there's anything there, and then they step on it. Now, the town did put in that flashing signs by the package store, which I think has helped as much as anything can in some ways as a measure, realizing that that's a significant problem. Northbound 7 has to stop at the stop sign, so that's not as much of a problem. And southbound Route 4 emerging into Route 7 has to stop by the store. So there is some traffic control there. So there are some issues there. And then they move the stop to right across between the fly shop and the store. So again, what I'd like to do is just have people look at that plan. We have gotten feedback we've gotten a lot of good feedback from people, and I would just like to summarize that without actually saying who said it. One thing we got was from a citizen that said, and I think this was really good. It summarized, to me at least, there are 5 objectives involved. 1, to slow traffic. 2, to promote other safety measures, especially for pedestrian and cyclists. 3, to promote business development and provide suitable parking. 4, form a sense of place and alter the prevailing crossroads effect. 5, save as much of the triangle and existing buildings and public spaces as possible. And I think some of those thoughts are in part in most of the comments we got, but I thought that was sort of a good five-point summary of what we're trying to achieve. We may disagree on how to do it, or if this quick build would be actually helpful in doing those. The feedback we got from the businesses was generally pointed out some problems from the business standpoint. As far as eliminating driveways was going to be a problem for both customers, and the new stop sign they felt would queue traffic up in front of stores and would create more of a traffic hazard. Also, by teeing things up, there was some concern, as you can see on the map. There's a concern because you're talking about tractor trailers. If you tee up the intersection without taking that into account, there's a question. And again, in these things on the map says, can a right turn be made by this vehicle without center line encroachment? So in other words, can a tractor trailer make that swing without going into the other lane? Because when we're doing this, whether we're queuing up traffic or encroaching on center lines, we don't want to solve one problem and create a bigger one. So again, that was some concerns. There's another concern from a longtime business person that there's nothing to slow southbound traffic, and concerned about crossing northbound traffic to stay on Route 7. Speed is all is concerned to this business owner. One other person suggested doing crosswalks to the bank. That's another common theme in the comments we've gotten so far, is trying to get more crosswalks to try to link access to the green area or connect it so when you want to go to the bank, you don't have to sort of go quickly across Route 4 or Route 7, but try to get more crosswalks. Again, more encouragement of crosswalks. And again, another comments saying they would like to see some sort of tee up. Again, another thing that came up that we've received word from is people concerned, not just on Route 7, but on Route 4. And I personally experienced that, as I usually shop in Cornwall Bridge twice a week. is people blowing right through the stop sign at Route 4. And you're coming down Route 4, going on to Route 7, and here's somebody going right through that stop sign, or you're going on, you're trying to go north on 4 and they don't do that. So that's another whole little, not so little issue on that leg of the triangle. So then we had some very good commentary from Terry Burke about complete streets. And there was mention that the current state of state planning encourages complete streets, which is accommodation for pedestrian and bicyclists. And the other thing why I think this is timely is because Cornwall in its own way is positioning itself, I think, very successfully in the last year and growing to become sort of an outdoor recreation hub for this area. We've traditionally had that role, but there's been a resurgence in the last year of outdoor recreation, and you're seeing now a second bike store beginning to open in West Cornwall, and the first bike store doing a huge business. The new stores can also offer 4-season equipment. And again, trying to keep that going. We have seen an increase in people using things besides cars. So complete streets would make that, would encourage that type of thinking when it comes to traffic planning. So again, and they are more, they're more apt to incorporate those they call intermodal transportation more than cars, basically different modes of transportation in more urban planning areas. And as Terry points out in his letter, that there is recently approved a US 7 bike route, aka the West New England Greenway, and there isn't a whole lot of planning that's gone into that. A key pinch point is is from Kent to Cornwall Bridge. And as everybody probably knows, it's hard to, these days, hard to navigate Route 7, but in a car because of its rough condition, let alone a bicycle. But there is this East Coast Greenway bike trail that goes through Cornwall from New York to Montreal. And again, we want to be welcoming of people, visitors, people. So again, we did have good cooperation with DOT when they repaved Route 4 and Route 125. So after years of not getting paving, the town has seen quite a bit of paving in Cornwall. And I believe Route 7, South Cornwall Bridge, Cornwall to Kent is going to be on the map pretty soon. So the question is, can we, another whole issue is, can we improve Route 7 south of Cornwall Bridge to encourage transportation for hikers, walkers, and bicyclists. So those are some concepts that we have here in the commentary. Also, you'll find a really interesting idea, probably the boldest idea to date. It comes from Tim Prentice, who first broached this idea in 2008, which was to remove the leg of the triangle that goes from this on the eastern side, and basically, do you have that slide, John?
Yeah, I'll pull that one
up. Make that sort of a one-way access to Dark Entry Road, and we'll provide parking and basically reconfigure the green with commercial buildings and more teed up intersections. And again, that's, I said, the boldest idea to date, but I appreciate his creative abilities. So do you have that slide there, John? Yeah. So those are some of the, so here's Tim's idea in 2008. you have the green as it sits now with the store and Dark Country Road coming off on the right. This plan would reconfigure the green. There'd be a room for more stores there. The existing buildings would stay the same, and there'd be a parking lot and easier access, and it would make more of a village out of what's now the green. Again, we haven't formally weighed in on that concept. The green, as people probably know, belongs to the state, and the state may be pretty hesitant to give up that amount of property. But again, I think what we're looking for is some sort of community, start of a community discussion on these topics. I have a list of points as we go through. Such things as crosswalks, clean up the intersection, this draft quick build plan, complete street ideas, and the Prentice plan. So those are crosswalks and more other traffic calming things. So if people would like to make comments after Rick is done, I think Rick has some very good perspective, long-term perspective on this issue here. So he's going to talk a little bit, and then we will open it up to commentary. So Rick, are you there?
I am here. Thank you, Gordon, and good evening, everyone. So many familiar faces and names on this call. This is fun. So I work for the Council of Governments. We're based in Goshen. We have a staff of 4 people, and we basically work for the 21 chief elected officials that comprise the Northwest Hills region, Gordon, of course, being one of those. And one of the responsibilities of our COG is regional transportation planning. And every 5 or 10 years or so, our COG does develop a regional transportation plan. And like all of our plans, we try to build those plans from the local level up, basically reaching out to municipalities for input, and then trying to assemble a regional plan based upon the recommendations developed locally. And we certainly do that with our regional transportation plan. We reached out 5 or 6 years ago, had a number of forums for discussion of transportation needs, saw a lot of interest expressed in doing more to facilitate trails and pedestrian movement in the community centers, as well as improved transit service. So kind of a couple of new focus areas with our 2016 regional transportation plan. The reason that the plan was developed, the quick build plan was developed, is because it's a fairly new concept. We have not done a quick build project in the Northwest Hills region. It has been done a few times in other parts of the state. And the Capital Region Council of Governments actually received a grant to consider potential quick build projects throughout the state of Connecticut. They had retained the services of Fitzgerald and Halliday Incorporated, which is a well-known planning firm in the state of Connecticut, to undertake these. And I knew from reading some of the what's been prepared by Terry Burke and some newspaper articles, recommendations by Hector Prudhomme, that there was a great deal of interest in Cornwall Bridge and doing something to enhance pedestrian movement and bicycle safety and slowing down traffic through Cornwall Bridge. Actually developed the development of a complete streets plan to enhance pedestrian safety and slow traffic down is a specific recommendation in our regional transportation plan that was developed back in 2016. So when I heard about the Capital Region having this grant, I thought, well, Cornwall Bridge would be a great candidate for a quick build project because of the concern that's expressed there. So I met very early on with Gordon and asked if he would be interested in seeing what this was all about, seeing what the consultant might come up with some basic ideas. And I'd like to emphasize that the quick build is all about temporary improvements. You install some things, you give it a month or two, see if they work or not work, And then at the end of those 2 months, you pick them up and take them away. It's a great way to check and see whether or not an idea that someone has will actually work to slow down traffic without causing other problems. And based on Gordon's interest, I did work with the Capital Region and Fitzgerald and Halliday on myself a limited basis just to see what they would come up with. And the few basic steps here was first to have the consultant come up with some ideas that we could talk about as a community. But before bringing it to the community, we wanted to run it by CONDOT, Connecticut Department of Transportation, to see if they were receptive at all to a quick build project. Again, this is something comparatively new in our area. And Jonathan, if you can call up that aerial photo again, I think that would be helpful. What I'd really like to emphasize tonight is that this plan, this aerial photo plan, is not a CONDOT plan. In fact, what the consultant came up with is shown with black ink. CONDOT's concerns or objections to this are shown in blue. So this has never really been a CONDOT plan. Again, they've registered a number of objections to it. And this is why we wanted CONDOT to review this before really delving in as a community to whether or not a quick build project made sense or not. We learned some things along the way. For example, we thought, oh, well, gosh, a crosswalk going from the business area across to the green, a couple of those would be nice to enhance pedestrian movement over there. Under the quick build project, we could do that with just some paint, we thought. Install some picnic tables or benches and bicycle racks and see if we could not achieve a little more active use in that town green area. What we learned from CONDOT is that they won't allow us to do a temporary crosswalk, that because of ADA, Americans with Disabilities Act requirements, you have to have a landing area, a concrete landing area in order to put a crosswalk across a state highway like that. So, with a few $1,000s to spend on a quick build project, we weren't about to start, pouring concrete landing pads for under a quick build project. But we did think that there could be some potential to see whether or not through painting, pavement markings, a temporary build out to see if that works or doesn't work. And the end result of this, again, because of the concerns raised by CONDOT with what the consultant came up with, again, for sort of discussion purposes, is it doesn't really look as though a quick build project is going to fit here. Our hope was to, again, try some things, see if they work, and if they do, then we could see about installing them on a more permanent basis. But because of CONDOT's concerns with going any further with this, I think maybe what we should be talking about is a more conventional, longer term improvements in the Cornwall Bridge area. And we very well may have wanted to be talking about that eventually anyway. This was an attempt to try to do something fairly quickly because a CONDOT plan for an area like this involves, frankly, a year or two of just trying to get a plan prepared, and then it's a question of finding funding sources. And planning study, we're just completing one on East Main Street in Torrington for $250,000, and the planning studies that CONDOT likes to fund usually are a couple $100,000 and years in the making and implementation. So this was something we thought maybe we could try to see if we could do something on a much quicker basis to slow traffic down, enhance pedestrian safety, and promote more bicycling in Cornwall Bridge. So that's where we're at. But mainly, I just really wanted to emphasize that, this is not a CONDOT plan. As you can see, they frankly had a number of concerns with what the consultant came up with. But I'm excited to see the community meeting on this, having tonight's forum. I do think it's an area that needs attention. There's some real opportunity to pursue the development of a complete streets model project here in Cornwall Bridge and strengthen the economic center as well as enhance safety. So anyway, that's the summary of where the COG is coming from on this. Thank you, Gordon.
Yeah, thank you very much, Rick, for all that clarification. And I think just before I open it up, just to summarize, my thinking, having sat through some of this, and I think it might make people feel maybe a little easier. I don't think we got any letters of support for the quick build concept at this point. So I think we're having a forum, but I think at this point, the quick build idea with, and especially this plan with the closures and the changing of stop signs and things is going to be put on the shelf and replaced with something more along the lines of the convention, as you say, conventional improvements to accommodate street, what do they call it? Complete streets initiatives. And then again, we're looking at putting all this information up on a website. Look at some electric vehicle charging stations, perhaps in Cornwall Bridge and in West Cornwall, and keep our eye on the Route 7 thing. So I think that's sort of where our focus is, because I don't want people to get too hung up on a plan that I think may be heading for the shelf. So anyway, so that was a lot of information in a short period of time. But now it's time for questions, reactions, and everybody's free to express themselves on these general topics of traffic, pedestrian, bicycles, and more layout in Cornwall Bridge. Okay, so I think Jonathan has the controls, and he will acknowledge people to speak and speak their piece, and they can either say a comment or a question, and we'll answer them the best we can.
Well, if you've got a video capabilities, I can just see you raise your hand if you're wanting to make a comment. Nita? You'll need to unmute.
Okay.
I can hear you.
Yeah, okay. I was fascinated by the Prentice plan because that whole triangular area seems like a moonscape, just something dropped from up on Earth and left empty. And the idea of, if you could get it from the state, if they could allow that to become a business area, that would change the traffic flow a lot too. But the way he said, anyway, I've never heard of it before, but I'm fascinated by it. I think that could be a wonderful solution.
Okay, thank you.
Who's next? Anyone? I think I saw Darylyn's hand go up. Go ahead, Darylyn.
Hi, I'd like to know a little bit more about the Greenway and if they've if they've gotten any further with actual plans before we start thinking of something on a more permanent basis for the triangle. I don't know if Terry can answer that, or one of the other bikers.
Yeah, great. So Terry, why don't you give a little a spiel on the Greenway, where it's at, its history. Yeah.
Okay, very, very shortly. The Greenway was approved by the AASHTO, the American Association of Highway and Transport Officials, who designates interstates, a couple of years back, 2-3 years back, as US National Bike Route 7. And it stretches from Norwalk up to the Canadian border at Montreal. And it incorporates a gazillion, at least 10 or 15 other routes, the ones like the Ashuelticook Rail Trail from North Adams down. They're all part of this national route that goes through 3 states. We're actually at the stage where we're dealing with the powers that be, Melanie Zimieski, of the intermodal person, on placing the signage, signs saying this is the US Bike Route 7. We've got the design for them. We've pretty well raised the money for them to cover Connecticut, but we're discussing with DOT, and we haven't got back to towns yet on where to put them. That'll be the stage we're at the moment. But the Greenway exists, and we've been getting feedback from cyclists who've done it and said, hey, this is nice. It's a great way to go from Canada down to New York City. So that's pretty well the situation now.
So Terry, I know I've sat in on some some meetings where they're talking about, you know, the Route 7 issue and where's it going to go, and are there alternatives to Route 7? Just two questions. One, does the Route 7 trail or the Greenway, does it stay on Route 7 in Cornwall Bridge, or does it go up Route 125 to Route 120, up Route 120, up Route 4 to 125 down to West Cornwall, up River Road on the dirt section? Is the trail highlighting the dirt roads, or is it staying on Route 7 all the way up through?
No, having had it approved, it stays as it is, and the official route goes from Kent along Route 7, then up Route 4, 125, 128, and then along the dirt River Road and crosses over. It actually goes up on Sand Road, I think, but what we've been doing is, as we've ridden it several times, is put in codicils, you may wish to do this detour when we find nicer ones, like if you cross the Amesville Bridge, you've Housatonic River Road, or if you can take the traffic, go straight down Route 7 to West Cornwall and then cut through. But these are not the official route, because it'd be too difficult to keep going back to Ashto and getting the whole official route changed. So what we do is, as things change, we just add on little detours, like there's one in Manchester, Vermont, because they've done a rail trail in town. We've said, we recommend people go this way onto that rail trail, and so on like that. The worst section of the entire cycle route is the section between Kent and Cornwall Bridge. And the problem we're trying to solve, we're trying to see if we can negotiate with the railway, with the powers that be in Washington vis-a-vis the Appalachian Trail, to get a corridor along within their half-mile radius or whatever. But at the moment, we're not really getting very far on that. So cyclists come straight down Route 7, which I do from time to time, but it really is not fun. It's the condition of the road and the lack of a shoulder. It's a dangerous road.
And we did push to try to, there is a road, the old road on the west bank of the river between Cornwall Bridge and Kent, coming out at Kent School. We did push for that for consideration, because from a bicycle standpoint, that would be ideal, but we got pretty strong pushback from the Appalachian Trail about having bikes on a section of the Appalachian Trail. So I don't know if those negotiations are going anywhere.
They're going and really spinning wheels. They're not really going anywhere, because you need an act of Congress. That's the problem. But I mean, right, from Cornwall Bridge up to on River Road on the Sharon side, you can go perfectly safely. And then from, as you say, from Kent right along for about 3 miles into the barrier, you can go safely. There's only about 3.5 miles, but the Appalachian Trail do not want to let us use that, even though they use lots of roads and lots of bike trails.
Yeah, go figure. But again, the current plan is it would go up Route 4 to 125 down to West Cornwall, and then on the dirt section.
That's the official.
That's
route.
the official road. So even though it's the Route 7 bike corridor, it would be the Route 7 bike corridor on River Road and Route 125 and Route 4, which is fine. I just wanted to know that. As far as Darylyn's question, it's still going, the plan right now is it's going through the middle part of Cornwall Bridge and not underneath the old section of the bridge or whatever. And yeah, so one of the things, again, we have to look at is whether there can be any widening of the shoulders if they do repave Route 7. I mean, I think I think that would be a big help if that could happen. But again, they have some pinch points there. Nothing, yeah. But that's a thought of whether they could widen where there's particularly narrow, some of the shoulders there, so they could have a bike lane.
Yeah,
It's
by law, they have to consider it, but it's not a mandatory thing. Connecticut was the 10th state in the nation to make a law of complete streets. And it means that if they're looking at doing any improvements on Route 7, they have to consider, could they make it safe for people in wheelchairs, bicycles, horses, you name it. But then they may say, no, we can't, tick. Either for practical reasons, financial reasons. They don't have to do it, they have to consider it. And that's basically it.
Got it. Thank you. Darylyn, does that answer your questions, sort of?
Yeah, it does. Thanks. I was basically just wondering about, if we were going to be able to widen the roads or not, and where we stood with that before we started, sort of looking at or approving any plans. That's right.
Right. Yep. Great.
Susan, did you have, go ahead. You'll have to unmute.
There we go.
All right.
Oh, hi.
Hello.
Hi, I'm on River Road South, so I get around that whole area of around the green on foot quite often for errands and for a walk, but mostly for errands, going from to and fro. So I've seen personally about the traffic situation, especially Route 4 going into Torrington and coming out of Torrington. That's in my mind is the scary bit, as far as people who don't even bother to stop at the stop sign or misinterpret waiting. As far as the crosswalks go, I'm just being a smart pedestrian, and I wait till everything is super clear within a mind's distance either way. So for now, that's working fine for me. I don't, I'm not feeling like I desperately need a crosswalk yet, but I do cross that onto the green. And I have to put in a plug for, oh no, one more thing about that plan before I put in the plug. In front of the, from the liquor store to the fishing supply and guide store, where, they're proposing a stop sign there. I can see a problem happening with the Route 4 corridor going through to Torrington. If things back up, now people can't get through to go to Torrington on the left there, the left side of the triangle. If at the bottom of the triangle, in front of the shops, if the traffic builds up there, people coming from Sharon would have to stop and wait for the traffic to clear at that stop sign before the Country Market in order to continue to go straight up on 4 to head to Torrington. Just a thought, in the, circumstances may happen that something happens that the traffic flow is stopped there. If it gets pinched there, that stops the flow in the other direction. And then the Tim Prentice's design, if you take out that other leg, let's see, that would be the right side of the triangle. Yeah, if you take out that right side of the triangle that goes from Kent, Route 7 onto Route 4, now you're making it even more difficult for the truckers and the long trucks to get through, because they've got to come around a curve, and now they got to negotiate a sharper right turn. With the way it's laid out now, it's a nice easy flow from 7 going north to 4, and vice versa from 4 coming south to connect to 7. So I think for the trucks and that especially, we need to keep that. And then I would hate to see the trees go, as far as the green goes. I would hate to see the trees go, and I'd rather do something, put something there that the community could enjoy and enjoy the green more, make it a little more easier. I don't know, benches. Somebody mentioned a bike rack. Earlier today, somebody was mentioned to me about an idea for a community garden idea, but not a veg garden, but what's it called? Oh, pollinator pathway.
Mhm.
So someone has mentioned that to me just today, and I thought that's a great idea. So those are my thoughts at the moment. I did send a letter in saying I thought maybe another sign would help for that Route 4 going to Torrington direction, that a sign that says oncoming traffic does not stop. I know we've got a lot of signs up in Cornwall Bridge already, but people seem to need those. Although then there's the people who don't even pay any attention to them and aren't gonna anyway, and they're just wherever their brains are and they're just doing their own thing. Who knows? You can only do so much until we have self-guided cars. You know, we can do our part, but until that happens, human nature is going to be human nature no matter what we do.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it at the moment. Thanks.
Okay. All right, Susan, thank you very much.
All right.
Yeah, I hadn't
And thanks
thought
for having the forum.
Yeah, it's great. So I hadn't thought about the self-guided cars. I haven't got my head around that yet, but anyway, thanks for bringing that up. Also, I think on, I'm moving that stop sign. I agree that stood out to me right away, that it's much better to have the traffic backed up. Keep the stop sign where it is by the store, because that way traffic can back up. And when it backs up, it's going to back up along the green on a busy day, as opposed to backing up in front of the stores. Just seems like a non-starter. And it
Right.
sounds like that's going to create more traffic problems.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
so I think, again,
Yeah.
we saw that at the first glance. So I
Sure.
appreciate that. And the other, it's interesting. I had another conversation with there's a Cornwall Garden Club starting up now, and the idea of
Oh.
gardening public spaces all over town is going to be a new thing coming up. So, and people also did mention at one point doing a sculpture garden there that
Oh, yeah.
have some public artwork there. So I
Oh,
think
yeah.
there is public uses that could that could be that space could be used for. Again, trying to safely get to it and back. I appreciate your looking both ways. It's tough. And but anyway, thank you.
Any other comments? Hector, you'll have to unmute.
You mean Harold?
No, Hector Prudhomme.
No.
Oh, well, here he goes.
Can you hear me?
You're next, Harold, right? Okay. Go ahead, Hector.
I have a couple of comments and also, a question. First of all, I would like to draw attention to the fact that in June of 2016, the CONDOT people put out a review of the situation at Cornwall Bridge as a road safety audit. It has a lot of information in it about the number of accidents and where they took place and this and that. It runs to 20 or 30 pages. We have never really done anything with this as far as I know. But it's a very useful document. And I wonder if we can't get the DOT to update it as a matter of having the most current information, because we want to make our decisions based on facts and not just on wishes and hopes and whatever. And I think that this kind of information should be widely spread on the website and made available to everybody. It looks, I'll hold it up, it looks like this. It's a proper report. And I would like to go to page 20 of that report, where it's talking about long-term solutions. And I'll just read them very quickly. Number one, develop an access management plan for the town center area to help reduce the number of curb cuts and driveways. Two, develop zoning regulations, such as a village district zone, to help characterize the town center area and regulate new developments. Three, improve roadway geometry. Underneath that, point one, square up the intersection of Route 4 and Route 7. Point two, expand green space area. Number four, install sidewalks on Route 7 to connect to local businesses. Point five, install lighting along sidewalks to improve visibility at night. And point six, consider narrowing lane widths on Route 4 and Route 7 down to 11 feet, presumably to slow the traffic. The next page of this thing shows a bunch of graphics. I'm not sure you can see them very well, but over here on the right-hand side, it shows two proposals for what they call squaring off the green area. The one that we've been talking about so far leaves shuts off the, or one of the things we've been talking about, shuts off the Route 4 play area where it is now and moves it over to the left-hand side or the western side of the green. It cuts through the green. It discombobulates the green. The second one below that shows it, the teeing to the east of the bank rather than to the west of the bank. And in that case, the through traffic would be coming along by the store and having to turn right to go up the hill. And the traffic coming from Sharon would have to stop at the northeast corner of the green. This, in my opinion, would have a great advantage because then the commercial development on the left side or the western side of the green could be more fully developed. You could make a very simple little pathways and crossways to the green for the picnic tables, for the bike racks, for whatever, sculpture gardens and so forth. So this is an official DOT document from 5 years ago. And I think it would be well worthwhile as we study this issue to get them to bring it up to date. So that's statement number one. Statement number two is that we have to recognize that somewhere in the not distant future, there is going to be a once in a lifetime cascade of money for infrastructure projects of this sort on a national scale. I mean, this is really, really big money this time. It's no fooling around. And it seems to me, and it's going to take place over 8 years or maybe longer. So I think that this is the time for the town, working with the DOT, working with NHCOG, working with the bike groups, anybody working certainly with Sustainable CT. This is the time to get our act together and try to get some of that money for this kind of a project. We need to grab the long range view much more, as has become obvious in our discussion tonight, than the very short range view. And I think that the competition for this money is going to be fierce, not just nationally, but also locally, of course. And the quicker we get our act together and get some sort of planning process underway, the better off we will be in that competition. So I'm interested that the pandemic is what's bringing this money, changing our school, changing our town, and there's no reason why we shouldn't change our infrastructure as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Hector.
Okay, Harold?
Yes. Well, my views on the green, and we live in the country, and just because there's nothing there doesn't mean we have to put something there. Part of the charm is it's a green that has some beautiful trees, maybe some flowers would be nice, but as far as putting buildings there or adding to it, I don't see it. But that's not my major concern. Since I own a business there, I don't see anything good out of this plan. I mean, I see it being obstructive in the traffic, causing clogs, and you're closing off a couple of conduits into businesses, and shutting off those driveways. Richard has a couple, I have a couple. There's 2 properties in my parking lot. It's much easier to navigate if you have it in and out, rather than making people turn around in your parking lot. I mean, it's smooth, it's efficient. I mean, I've been there for almost 20 years, and it's not perfect. Lucas, I'm on a Zoom call. Lucas, I'm on a Zoom call, please. I'll talk to you later. 16-year-olds.
Yeah, kids.
So, I mean, it works. It's not perfect, but I'm there 5-7 days a week. I see the traffic flows. I walk to the store. I walk to the bank, and yes, it's not, you have to look both ways before you cross. But as Susan said, we're used to doing it. You kind of look and you go. And I think she's also right about the stop sign across from the grocery store. That's really going to clog things up. I mean, you put a stop sign there, you're going to back up traffic. People are not going to be able to get out of my parking lot, my neighbor's parking lot. And I just don't see it being a catalyst to improving flows around the triangle. And maybe I'm being simplistic, but maybe someone can point it out to me. I don't see any improvements from what they're planning. And I hope nobody takes it personally, but I spoke with Richard from the wine store, and I think he was in line with me. We don't get it. I mean, I'd be happier if they paved the roads, painted it, and filled the potholes. That would be enough for me. I'd be happy with that personally. That's it.
Okay. Thank you, Harold.
Richard? Bramley?
Thank you. I do have to agree with both what Susan and Harold said. Susan mentioned being a smart pedestrian. I think that's critically important. And I also agree with her assessment of the eastbound and westbound, actually both directions. I think the westbound Route 4 traffic is the fastest and most dangerous. The eastbound Route 4 traffic, she was talking about it backing up by the stop sign by Harold's, but I actually think that by closing off the liquor store's first entrance would create a bottleneck at the second entrance that is shared with the post office. There's a lot of traffic in and out of the post office, a lot. And combine that with delivery traffic to me and my own traffic in turning around in my parking lot and people queuing up to get out of the parking lot and come into the parking lot. And I think the traffic would back up onto eastbound Route 4 immediately with a couple of cars because they couldn't turn in to that driveway. I'm glad to hear that the plan as currently proposed is already headed for the shelf because that may be its best place. And that you called it I think Rick, it's referred to as a quick build. And that if it's a quick build and it's not a lot of money, then they probably should use that money quickly for other things, as in filling the potholes, as Harold said, painting the lines in the road, delineating the road better, some signage, maybe fixing the broken signs, the bent signs, putting there's red stripes on the legs of the stop sign, on one of the stop signs on one of the stop signs around the triangle, but not all three of them. I think putting the red legs on the red strips on the legs of the stop signs would help. That's an immediate, inexpensive alternative to spending the quick fix money. I just think the plan as proposed creates more issues than it solves, and it does nothing for what Terry was talking about, the complete street. It does nothing for that, and just creates a lot of issues on a lot of things. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Richard. I think it's important to reiterate that this was just a consultant's work, and the DOT office, regional office here, wasn't any more satisfied with it than you are. So it's not even up at the plan level. It's a consultant's concept. I also have never been sold on the idea of closing off driveways, because I think it's better to get people off Route 7 as soon as possible, and the thought of them having to stop and back up traffic on Route 7 because there's less access and egress to the stores is to me would be very problematic. I think we do have some advantage there, and the stores do have their own parking lots as opposed to having parking right on Route 7, because I know in the town of Kent that is a major safety concern, is people getting out of a car onto Route 7. So that is one advantage that we have and should maintain, is sort of off street parking in front of the stores. So anyway, thank you. More questions, comments?
JWWZ.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to make a quick comment. Sorry, my name is John, by the way. Those are my initials.
Hi, John.
I just wanted to, I think, remind people about, like, when thinking about crosswalks, especially, that like there has to be some consideration. Like, remember not to be ableist or ageist, because just because you're smart enough to walk across the street doesn't mean that a child or someone who is in a wheelchair has the same options as you. And I think especially of, like, as someone who does a lot of errands in Cornwall Bridge, if I'm going from Richard's shop to try to go to the ATM, imagine if I didn't have two working legs. And I think that'd be very difficult to do. And I think that it's something to keep in mind, especially if we have people who, if you want people to come into the town and remain here, those are gonna be a lot of different people. And it's not just the people who are sitting on this Zoom call. And so I just want to make that crystal clear that, like, this is not something that's just for us. It's for people who we want to come here and remain here. So if we can make it safer for other people to cross what are pretty major streets, and I've lived in Los Angeles, which is a very dangerous place, and like lots of people are smart and some people aren't, both drivers and pedestrians, and it's really important to mitigate that as much as possible. So that's just all I wanted to say. When we think about all these things, this is something to keep in mind.
Right, great. No, I appreciate that, John, and I do think highlighting the crosswalks would be certainly something that would be a practical step to consider on these. Some of the issues that have been brought out is putting a crosswalk to state standards is tough, because you have to have a lot of landings and things with it. But I know they have done that up in Salisbury and Lakeville pretty effectively. And once you have those lights on, I mean, I think also they do tend to get in people's memory that this is a crosswalk area, even if it's not lit now, it might be. And again, this is reinforcing this is a village, just not an off ramp off Route 7. So anyway, I appreciate that.
Like that.
Okay, so I'm writing all these things down, so we'll sort of recap as we go through.
Joanne?
Thank you. I find it interesting that those of us who live in this area have far less to be concerned about than people who don't live here. I was amazed to see Tim Prentice's picture and diagrams resurrected. I don't remember how many years ago. I guess the time frame is probably the time frame Hector was talking about from before, that was all, I thought that had all been on the dump heap of life and discussion because it had been thoroughly negated by DOT, at least the DOT of those years. And when we had tried to have a sculpture garden, you notice the only thing that's left of our attempts to have a sculpture garden is the star sculpture at the end, which many people have probably not bothered to even see in the last 6 or 7 years, but it's still there. Take a look next time. It's out in front of Richard Bromley's place on the green. It's sort of attractive. Anyway, the DOT told us at that time that they needed 40-foot sight lines into the green. And there were all sorts of issues, and they just totally blew up the Prentice diagrams and our attempts to have a sculpture garden. And I believe it'll be interesting to see the report that Hector referred to, because as I recall back then, there was no big record of serious accidents on the green. Everybody sees it as a potential for accidents, and I'm sure there's lots of opportunities for accidents. I'll give you one that I see almost every day coming out of what people perceive as my driveway. My driveway is not a driveway, it's actually an old state town road, which I'm very grateful for because that means I plow it in the wintertime. Thank you, Gordon. But when I come out that entrance, I look and I'm looking at that end of the triangle from the bank to Route 4. And I look and you would think that I could expect someone to stop at that stop sign. Instead, they come right through that stop sign. They look to their right, they see nobody coming from the Route 7 north side of the triangle. And they just come right through. Signs don't mean anything to a lot of people. They think they can see, they see nothing. They don't know my driveway or my town road is there. So I see that I think they're going to stop at the stop sign. I pull out and they come through the stop sign. Whammy. I mean, twice I have had life-threatening potential accidents. Luckily, I've avoided them. And to answer John's issue about those of us who are less than enabled at this present time, I'm 76. My Parkinson's is getting worse. I walk with a four-legged cane now, and I don't know how long that'll be. But I find that very few people walk from one store to another. It's interesting to see. They'll go to the liquor store and they will drive to the country market. Or they'll go to the hardware store and they will drive to the liquor store. There's not much walking. And I think that list of ideas about sidewalks and all of that was written by somebody who's never been to our town. As Harold said, we think we live in the country. Everything we're doing is making us more and more look like a suburban kind of environment. And the idea of more lights. You know, most of the Western states are putting in legislation that talks about creating dark skies. Have you looked up? Can you still find your North Star? The sky is being lit up so that we can't even enjoy it anymore. We can't see it because there's so much ground light. We have lights now, as it is, paid for by local business people on the green, not by anybody else, by the townspeople who have their businesses there. We're the ones that contribute to that. And I have contributed to that in the past as a homeowner. I mean, guys, think about it. Do we want to look like every other suburban community? I think Cornwall is pretty unique. And the more we do these things, and when you say take the money You know, there's going to be infrastructure money. All of that money comes with requirements. As Gordon referred to, when you want to put, you think you just want to put in a crosswalk. It's not that easy. There's so many rules and requirements. We're losing control of our towns. You take the government's money, the government tells you what to do with it. You don't have a choice. We have got to decide whether we want to have our town or we want to have regional and federal control of our town. It's a big decision, but I think we have to make it. And when we make it, it'll decide what our town will look like. I hope it continues to look unique. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Joanne. The next comments?
I just unmuted myself. I have full faith that this governing body and the township and the people on this call will not make Cornwall Bridge look suburban, even with a pot of money. Not
Okay. With you on that, Nell. Any other comments?
Yeah, I'm going to do what Nell did and just unmute myself. Sorry. Yeah, I agree somewhat, Nell. I feel like, you know, the sentiments I sent to the selectmen were along the lines of what Tim had drawn that I knew nothing about all those years ago. I do think that, you know, when you look at something day in and day out, you don't see the faults with it anymore, the sentiment that it works. I think we can have something that maintains a rural character, is more functional, that can provide better access and more recreation in keeping with what our area has to offer in Cornwall Bridge. And, you know, I'd like to hear from Gordon and possibly Rick about, you know, sort of what are the next steps in this process? It feels a little like, you know, lassoing a huge giant. How do we go about? I mean, obviously the DOT is going to decide how trucks need to make the turns, not us. And, you know, investigating those possibilities. But until we do that, you know, sort of having these conversations. So what happens? I mean, is that the next step, Gordon and Rick, to have DOT traffic assessments, or how do we find out about the green? What do you guys see as the next steps?
Well, I think there's small, I'll just jump in first and then Rick, I'll rely on Rick to give the real answer, but let's see. I think there's a couple things, as I said before, that we hope to achieve, and the selectmen are going to, you know, rehash this at another meeting. But again, as I said, I think we're pretty much heading towards taking the idea of this, the consultants' work of this quick build. It hasn't passed the the public approval test, and I think so that's pretty much off the shelf. So replacing that with some more comprehensive, up-to-date thing that sort of suits the community better makes sense. Terry's idea, again, generally of a complete street that does accommodate pedestrian and bike traffic makes sense. Thinking about electric charging stations makes sense. And again, taking in the comments that have been made about the traffic flow on routes 4 have been very helpful. And there are things we can probably take with, you know, immediate action or whatever to try to address that. Hector's idea, I think, of asking is an update of the 2016 planning process. See if we can push that. And again, use that as something that would get a practical plan in place, with the idea at that point of looking at some point large. You know, I think the largest ideas of really refiguring all, you know, basically eliminating the green. I think I could see that being pretty controversial, not just locally, but whether the state would even give up that property without, you know, a huge compelling town reason to do it. But we certainly can look at, as Rick said, some conventional improvements like the crosswalk. And again, looking at Route 4 traffic and getting some transportation planners in here to sort of give us a 2021 update of how this might work, and probably have a stakeholder meeting with those people to, hear your input from people that visit and work and live in the town. I think some of the best ideas are from the people that experience it every day. So I think those are where I'd like to see us go, as well as put a lot of this discussion up on the website so people can see what some of the issues are and what some of the comments are. Rick, or what do you think we can get an update of that 2016 traffic safety study as a way to move some of this forward?
Yeah, Gordon, I think that we can at least update the statistical data, the accident history and so forth. I don't think that CONDOT is routinely preparing those road safety audits any longer, except on special occasion. But I'd like to thank Mary Kay for her question. 2 points. First, please keep in mind that the Quick Build project was never meant to take the place of a more comprehensive solution in Cornwall Bridge. It was an opportunity to try some temporary measures that would be removed after we had a chance to try some things. Again, there seem to be a lot of problems and concerns with even those temporary measures. So I fully understand Gordon's position that let's focus on the long game here, not the quick fixes to some safety concerns. Again, narrowing pavement, putting up some vertical delineators, those types of things can be done to try things on a temporary basis. But all of that would have been to try to inform a more permanent, longer-term solution to some of the issues in Cornwall Bridge. To Mary Kay's question, once a year, CONDOT solicits planning projects, corridor management studies, they call them. And the deadline for this round of funding is coming up May 15th. If there's any way, Gordon, that a consensus could be reached, whether or not it's worth approaching CONDOT for corridor management planning funds to address the issues and opportunities in Cornwall Bridge on a more comprehensive basis, that would be desirable. Otherwise, frankly, we're looking at another year away for getting the project underway. There is an application form that's required. I'd be happy to work with Gordon and others in developing that application if there's community interest in doing that. Again, these typically require a 10% match. Be thinking, I think the minimum project cost, unless there's an exception, is like $200,000. So we're talking, a pretty substantial amount of money that would be focused on this. It would include a very robust public information component to try to make sure that whatever is done in the communities, with the community support and with their best interests in mind. But again, I just wanted to mention that upcoming deadline for this year of May 15th. And again, if there's interest in pursuing that, be happy to work on that. But this would involve some, preliminary engineering, some, what's feasible, what's not, and be really the first step towards making any, substantial changes to that area in the state highway network.
Thanks, Rick.
Yeah, $200,000 for a study sounds like a lot, but I understand. It's also possible if the town, there are people that are traffic engineers, it's possible maybe for the town, we could research whether the town would hire their own consultant and come up with something. Because again, the people at DOT are pretty good about coming out and meeting with us on traffic safety concerns. So maybe we could have something that's a little smaller scale than a $200,000 engineering study. But maybe we can talk and get some ideas together for the selectmen on what's a good way to proceed with that, whether it's something that's entirely locally funded, that's a little less, scale than 6 digits, or whether it makes sense, whether it's possible to do some collaboration with the state program. Great.
Kate?
I have so this plan is particularly focused on traffic patterns, and a more comprehensive plan would include parking and a commuter lot and EV stations and things like that. Something that would really start to pull Cornwall Bridge together as a place, give it an identity, as opposed to sort of a roadside attraction or something that one quickly can pass by. And I'm wondering if one wanted to develop that within the structure of the offering right now, could we expand our design? That's part of the question. And also, if this 5/15 date, maybe we get something done in a year. Maybe we do 5/15/2022. So that's where my head is going on this. What do you think, Rick?
Yeah, again, with a corridor management study, you can expand that and basically write the scope of work that you want for a project of that sort. So I know you had expressed interest, Katie, before in stretching it to where River Road intersects with Route 7 west of the bridge. Again, another area with a lot of pavement and not a lot of direction for people pulling out of that River Road on the Sharon side. So again, that scope.
No, actually, that wasn't mine. I didn't say that. I didn't address that. It's somebody else.
Someone else did. Okay, but thank you. But
Yeah.
the point being that yes, the scope of work for corridor management studies can be largely and are largely determined by the municipality. But again, it does need to be submitted by the municipality if the town is interested in pursuing that level of detailed planning and preliminary engineering of improvements.
Well, because personally, I can't see this working without a parking plan. I mean, you're just talking about stuff zooming through, but you have to be able, you want economic development. So you have to have people slow down, pull off, park sanely. There has to be a parking plan that goes with the traffic plan. And I can't see one without the other, personally.
Okay, that's good insight. Yeah, okay.
I was going to say Terry has a comment. Go ahead, Terry.
Rick, I just wanted to clarify something, because Condot are doing the Complete Streets project, and that's going to be done generally with their consultants, Fitzgerald and Halliday, who are innovative planners for better communities. And the corridor planning project, would that be to give more impetus to that? Because I assume that the Condot are going ahead anyway with their overall plan, which will include parking and everything else, environmental, walking. That is not off the table at all, is it? That's what Condot are going to be doing in the next year or two or 3 or 4.
Yeah, Terry, I'm not aware of any complete streets plan that is under preparation by Condot. What Fitzgerald and Halliday did with a quick build, again, we probably shouldn't call it a plan. We should probably just call it a quick build project to see what may or may not work, again, on a temporary basis. The corridor management study would again include complete streets, certainly, and as you've indicated before, any federal or state funding that's used for anything these days does require an evaluation of bicycle opportunities and impacts. But I don't know of any plan underway for the preparation of complete streets for Cornwall Bridge that would be incorporated with a corridor management study, again, the bigger project.
Okay, so the document which we got up on the site there saying Route 4, Route 7, complete streets improvements, that was just the quick build. And there isn't at the moment any ComDOT overall plan.
No.
That's correct.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Yeah.
So a building project would be great.
John, did you have a follow-up comment from earlier? Or? Okay, I guess not. Anyone else? Leela?
Thank you, Jonathan. Nothing from me.
Okay, always like to check in with the press.
That's right. I saw Ruth Epstein was on here. Getting
Yeah,
started.
Ruth.
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, folks, so going forward, I'm gonna regroup with Rick and see if, about what are the engineering possibilities, and probably present something at the next Board of Selectmen's meeting or the one after that. Again, maybe we'll ask if there are any engineering services available, and maybe Terry, if you can run down the complete streets angle and see if there's anything that's coming up from the south in our direction that would incorporate some of those people. So again, what's the way to get the how do we fit the pieces of the puzzle together, I guess at this point. And again, DOT has been very good about coming out and consulting, and can we work with them to try to incorporate some of these improvements, and again, tie in the work on Route 7 is going to be a key part of this going forward. So, and again, that would be DOT Region 4. So that's on the list too. So anyway, I would like to, hearing no other questions, I'd like to thank everybody. And again, this is just the preliminary start of things. But I think we do have a path forward to try to get some sort of design process going, get some information out there. And again, I appreciate the very practical suggestions. And if nothing else, we'll get some red legs on the stop signs to start. And it's a lot of these things you have to start gradually and then build from there. But I do think we have a good start to that, and we can build it up from there. So anyway, thanks everybody for attending, and this will not be the end of the story, and we'll try to have an update, in several months, and have another forum and see if we can get something put together. Okay, and again, we're going to maintain it. We'll put this as a separate thing on the town website that will, list all the information, the stuff that we gather in, and comments will be listed there. Okay, so anyway, thanks everybody. Good night. Be safe.
Good night.
Take care. Thank you, John.
Oh, you're welcome. Good night.
Thank you.